to another episode of Steaming Pile with Lauren and Tucker. I am Lauren.
And I'm Tucker.
And it's Monday again. Tucker.
Yes.
How do you feel about Royalty?
Royalty? I think it's one of Childish Gambino's weaker releases. It was a mixtape. It was early when he was still doing the whole punchline stuff, but it's hard to hold anything of his up to the like monolithic magnificence that was because of the internet. What do you think of Royalty?
Well, I was referring more to the nobility aspect, like hereditary leaders. But I haven't listened to much Childish Gambino apart from This Is America, which I realize is more of an art piece as a whole rather than like a song on its own.
Well, if we're going to talk about nobility, yes, Childish Gambino is definitely musical royalty. But in terms of royalty in general, that's a great question. They're mostly figureheads now, at least in most developed. Is that a cat?
Yeah, it's my cat.
Nice. In terms of, I guess, just the existence of nobility, sure, whatever. I don't know. The Queen hasn't declared war in years and years, if ever. So I don't know. Yeah. Why?
I don't know. I was watching The Crown today, and I was there. There are some people. I think they're called like anarcho-monarchists, where they're basically like, I want no government except for one figurehead because it's really easy to take out one person.
That's fair. I mean, sure. I mean, well, it wouldn't be easy to take that one person out. I mean, that one person would have a lot of security.
And that is part of it. But on the other hand, like, I can kind of see the appeal of the idea, at least from a purely very simplistic standpoint of like, yeah, all we have to do is kill one person. Yeah. But then it's like, how do you determine who that person is? And I mean, like, in America, we have, like, I would argue landed gentry more through money than through inherited titles. And yes, it's difficult to assassinate people who are important. But I don't know. I think it's interesting that Americans are probably more obsessed with the royal family than the English are, at least from following the stories and keeping up with it.
Well, it's because it's such a foreign concept.
Yes.
Any kind of monarchy, whether it be kind of like a monarchy that doesn't really do a lot at all, like the British monarch, or a monarch that does everything, of which I'm sure there are still a couple left. Nothing's really coming to mind. I think does Sweden's king do anything cool? I don't think so.
No, I don't know if any government in Europe that still has a monarch that still does stuff.
Yeah, I guess you got to go down to the Middle East and Africa.
True. Yeah, I would imagine some of the last nobles that still do things are like MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. He still does things. Sometimes it's just assassinate members of his family, but
yeah. I would consider Kim Jong-un a member of nobility.
True. Yeah.
And that's like, that's a totalitarian dictatorship. So of course he does stuff. He does everything. And he's the figurehead.
Yeah, that could be something worth looking at, is how like tyrants and dictators compare to the idea of nobility and monarchy, and how they're similar, how they're different, at least both in perception and in what they actually do.
I think in perception, you're a dictator if people hate you, you're a king if people like you, right?
Yes.
And I think inside of North Korea, they call Kim Jong-un, which one is it? Great leader, dear leader, one of them. They keep finding adjectives.
I think it's great leader. That sounds right.
Yeah, and so that's basically king, right? That's not there's really no other way to put that. And he's descended from royal bloodline, if you follow that logic. So he's no different. if North Koreans did not like him, they would call him a dictator. If similar to how like France, revolutionary France, when they started not to like the king, they started calling him a dictator. And that's a more traditional idea of a king. So I think that's really where the line is drawn, whether the subject's opinion of you, whether you are a dictator or a monarch.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And I think that discussion is kind of complicated because, like, we use the word tyrant a lot, and at least in the modern context, it has more of a negative connotation associated with it. But I think in Rome, where they used it, and I may be wrong, it had more of like just a neutral connotation. It was just like what you were, which I think is really interesting, of how words that have more neutral connotations begin to take on more of a negative one depending on how we use it.
Yes. No, for sure. Yeah. That is fair. And speaking of Rome, I was thinking a lot about the triumvirate system. Why do we only appoint one person to be at the head of things when 3 is a good number? It's a better number, actually. It's one of the best numbers, I would say. And so, like,
I mean, at least in the current American climate, which I don't know, maybe electing 3 people at once would help solve that. I can't imagine trying to have an election cycle where we have to pick 3 people, where we went through all of this just to pick one, or, up to, 3 plus however many representatives and local representatives you have.
Well, I mean, it's extend the idea. So there are a lot of people who think that we should pack the Supreme Court. And really the only important metric is that we keep an odd number of justices on the Supreme Court. Why don't we pack the presidency? No, really, like, why don't we pick 3 people to be president, and then they decide on the things that the president does, right? As a threesome phrasing. They kind of you vote majority, and you're always going to get a majority or unanimous decision. Unless one of them abstains, which would be, dumb and probably not allowed. The Supreme Court can't abstain, right? A justice can't abstain from a ruling, can they?
I don't know, unless it was like the grossest conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Like if there was some court, but even then, I think the whole point is that a judge is supposed to be impartial. So like, and this is just because he's the first name that came to mind. Like if, Antonin Scalia had to rule on something on a Supreme Court level and it involved like his wife or one of his children, I don't know if Supreme Court justices can recuse themselves. I feel like they should still be allowed to, because otherwise that leads to a really easy doorway into corruption.
I hope that if they are able to, and I do hope they're able to, that they take another justice with them, so that it goes down from 9 to 7.
Yeah.
Like a random justice. They can't get to pick because that's kind of mean. But like but like just bring it down to 7. That way you still can't get a tie. That would work. But why wouldn't it work for the presidency? Of course, this would be a slow burn. You can't do this overnight because you're right. Picking one person's hard. Picking 3 people would be very, very hard. And you would almost... Let's look at it this way. I don't know who the third person would be, but let's say the third person was an average politician. Donald Trump got 70 million votes. Joe Biden got 75 million votes. If we were voting for 3 people, they both would win, which means they would be president together, as would a third person. If we had a triumvirate system, then the third person would have a lot more votes, and the first 2 would have far fewer. But let's just say it was Kanye West, because he actually didn't get last place in some states, which blows my mind. I knew people would vote for him, but I didn't think he would like not get last place.
Well, yeah, no, that's what the Green Party is for.
Yeah. So okay. So it sounds like the start of a bad joke, but Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and Kanye West walk into the Oval Office, and they have to decide on policies and vote together. Would that work? I'm looking like at using this as a specific example, and honestly, I don't know. Mainly because I don't care what the political views of Kanye West are. Although in his defense, neither Biden nor Trump has ever won a Grammy, so
Yeah.
yeah.
No, no. So would we still have a vice presidency if we had a triumvirate? Like, would they each have like a tag team partner that they could just slap in? Like if Kanye didn't want to show up, could he be like, I'm sending in Kirby Jenner in my place?
That's an interesting question. I think at that point, the responsibilities of the vice president would really only then be relegated to two things. The first would be a replacement president, and second would be president of the Senate.
Yes.
So you would just say there's no more vice president, there's only president of the Senate. And if one of the presidents dies, the president of the Senate gets moved up.
Okay, so we'd have almost like a prime minister position.
I guess that would be what that would be. Yeah. Although prime minister is kind of a strong word because that we don't really have an analog for that.
True.
Well, I mean, we do. It's the president, but because the prime minister really manage. I actually don't know. I don't know. We don't have an analog for it, but I don't know if the president of the Senate would fulfill that role. Would Kanye bring balance to a Biden-Trump triumvirate?
I don't know. I just know that the last time we were like, hey, this person will bring balance to this highly unstable thing, they became Darth Vader.
No, because on one hand, it's very clear. Yeah, he ran as an independent. All right, but he has supported Donald Trump. But on the other hand, if you listen to some of his songs, you don't just go around saying, put my fist in her like the civil rights sign without, caring about women's rights and civil rights, civil issues. You can't just say that, So, I mean, maybe he's the moderate voice we need. Maybe we should have elected Kanye West as president, or maybe we should have elected him 1/3 as president. As a compromise, if you will. That joke's a little too far.
I could feel the build up to it, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh God, black people in fractions. Oh no. Oh God, this can only end one way. Anyway, so how's The Crown?
I mean, I'm only like an episode and a half in, but it's pretty good. At least as far as like, oh yeah, Queen Elizabeth II. Cool. I like the concept of the show because I always like it when shows are like, all right, here's the cast for years X to Y. We're going to update the cast because now we're starting at year Y and we're going to go to year Z. I'm very curious as they get into season 4 because for season 4, they have like Diana. So they're going to do the whole like Princess Diana thing. I'm very curious if the show is going to go as far as to imply, outright say that the royal family was probably responsible for her death. I doubt it, but I'm curious. If memory serves, that's something that Harry kind of seems to believe, and I think there are tons of people who believe that the royal family was responsible for it, which is interesting given that she had already divorced Prince Charles, so she wasn't even like princess anymore. Yeah.
I know absolutely nothing about Princess Diana other than she's dead, and that everyone was really sad about it for some reason. But the thing is, I don't know. I wasn't there. People die all
Yeah.
the time. Very high profile people die all
Mhm.
the time. So I don't know why that one was so significant. Absolutely no clue.
I think part of it was just that she was younger. I would say she's probably in her late 30s, early 40s, maybe. And it was a horrific car accident. And because there were so many like paparazzi around her car, it was really difficult to like get to her to help her.
Oh.
And that was part of it too, is that
Um.
there was so little privacy that they couldn't even help her really. And that John Mulaney was probably responsible for it somewhere. Granted, he was 12 and in Wisconsin.
You're gonna have to spell that one out for me.
He has a bit about being responsible for the death of Princess Diana.
Oh. Because
Yeah.
of course he does. Yeah. Okay.
It's, yeah. You know, when we're all kids, there are swaths of our memory that it's like, I wasn't there. You have to tell me. And that could just be another one of those memories.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's true. It's true. Still spooks me. Okay. Well, I just, another TV show to add to the list, I suppose. The Crown. Sounds good. It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's a historical fiction. And not like
Historical
dramatized.
drama.
Okay, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of. It's not like House of Cards. And it's not like The Thick of It. It's more down to earth and realistic. Yes?
Yeah, it's more grounded. Yeah.
You're not really selling it.
I haven't seen that much, so there's not much to sell.
Oh,
I mean, for
okay,
me, I'm
alright.
like, oh yeah, period drama. I love that sort of thing. But I mean, like, as far as the royal family goes, I'm like, we watched Kate Middleton and Prince William get married, but that was really as far as it went. And like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle got married, and that was a big deal too. But I think I was in college, so I didn't have like TV to watch it.
I think for the longest time, I conflated Kate Middleton and Kate Upton. And they're not the same person.
They're not.
They're not at all the same person.
Which implies the existence of a Kate Downton.
That's what I'm hoping. Just like smooth jazz implies the existence of rough jazz.
Yes. Which...
Think about it. Think about what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Just take a couple seconds. Think about smooth jazz, Now think of rough jazz. What comes to mind?
Pushing a jazz band down a flight of stairs.
I like it. I kind of want to. That sounds like an art piece. It sounds like something.
Oh, very much so.
That sounds like something James Franco would do.
Oh, I haven't thought about him in years.
No one has. That's. What's the most recent thing he's done? Disaster Artist? I can't think of anything else.
I think the most recent thing he's done is be accused of sexual assault, but that's not entirely new.
That's not entirely shocking. Let's
Yeah.
see. James Franco. I mean, he didn't.
I do think it is just the Disaster Artist, but
He didn't go and get accused, right? That's not something he's done. He probably did the thing a while ago.
I mean,
Did he?
within the last 10 years, I think, because he had like this school.
James, no, James.
He had like this school where he'd be like, "Yeah, come learn how to be a director," and then.
Oh,
was
that's
like
the
a
worst way
front.
to do it. Okay,
know.
Disaster. Oh, okay. The Disaster Artist came out in 17.
Yes.
Future World, The Pretenders, Zeroville, The Long Home. Interesting. Bukowski. What does he even do? Who is James Franco even? Actor, director, comedian, producer, academic, painter, and writer. Did he write this?
He's written several things.
No, did he write the Wikipedia article?
I wouldn't be surprised. He's like, I have to clear my name. I'm gonna write my own Wikipedia. That'll show him. That'll show him all that I am. not just an unwashed master's student who will never finish my degree. He always struck me as the kind of person who kept going back to like high school reunions way too long after he should have been going.
Yeah.
And with college homecoming as well.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. What is the acceptable time frame?
For high school, once you graduate, stop going. Unless you have a sibling that goes there, stop going. College, I think it's like it's cool to go the first couple years because you still have friends that are still in college. After that, you gotta wait until like 10 years.
That sounds about right.
You can go back, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of those. I don't think I've ever been back to my high school. No, I went back twice for their theater shows. Maybe only once, actually. And
Yeah,
that's just because I knew people in the cast. That was like the year after I graduated high school. So
yeah, and after I graduated high school, I would go back pretty much every weekend, and I would like do my laundry there. But then after I graduated college, they sold my high school, and so I couldn't go back anymore because my parents had moved to Ohio.
I'm sorry, they sold your high school?
I was homesick. Yeah,
I didn't connect the dots. At first I was questioning you did the laundry at your high school. Maybe you just misspoke and meant like it's in your town. I forgot you were homeschooled. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why would you do laundry at your high school?
I don't know. I can't think of any like good reason. Unless like that is the only facilities you have. Like there were a couple people in drama club who would sometimes do their laundry in like the theater because it was free.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And I mean, on one hand, in the dorms you had industrial dryers, and that's pretty good because you can, if you had to do like 2 loads in the washer, you only needed to do 1 load in the dryer. That's pretty nice. But on the other hand, it's so there's something nice about a regular washer dryer dryer, so yeah. and the fact that it was free. Should have been free throughout the campus, I think. But
I think it's only been recently that they've decided that it should be free again, because I think last year was the first year that it was free again. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll pay for food. Yeah, of course. I'll pay for a roof over my head, sure. But like, that when you get down to the nickel and dime stuff, right? Like if I go to health services and they give me a Band-Aid, they're not going to charge me for the Band-Aid.
Right.
Similar principle. So.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like, why wouldn't washer dryer stuff be covered in room and board?
Exactly. I'm not going to do the laundry every single day. This isn't going to be a loss for you.
Yeah. Like at most, people are probably using it once a week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's college, if that. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad it's free now. Allegedly.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Yes. Allegedly.
Did you hear that
Hard to say with
their COVID quarantine is at a hotel?
Really?
How are they doing that? It's at the Holiday Inn by the highway. How are they doing that? How does that work?
I don't know. I guess they're just gonna shuffle students back and forth every couple weeks. Be like, all right, you can stay on campus. All right, you have to stay in this hotel now.
I don't know. I guess there aren't a lot of people driving through, taking a rest stop at Terre Haute. And if they are, they can go down the road to the Drury, I guess. But I don't know. That's just, how are they doing it? They've got to be getting a bulk discount, and the Holiday Inn has to be okay with this, and has to be some kind of agreement. And I don't know. Where else would they put them?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Procopo already looks like a hospital, but beyond that, where would it go? Where would you put it? There's really no other place to put them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Well, my brother was in school. They were getting tested probably once every 2 weeks, at least once a month. And he would always say, like, it doesn't matter if he tests negative unless everyone else in his room tests negative.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just one thing that I'm like, I'm glad I myself don't have to deal with it, and that I am not the parent of a child who has to deal with it.
Yeah. No, that's
Although
that's
my
very true.
impulse, if I were a parent at this time, would be like, you know what? It's okay. You can just take a year off. If you want to learn other things, there's nothing that says you have to be done in 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll keep your spot warm. I mean, they're getting money. They're going to keep your spot warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll not pay tuition this year. We'll use those discount codes for Skillshare.
Yeah.
You can just do what you want this year.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Well, that was a lot of community colleges, I think, were like, hey, if you don't want to go on campus, we have tons of stuff online. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, online learning is okay, I guess. I've never had to do it, really. Is that true? Have I never done a class online? I've never done a class online.
I did meteorology online, and I realized I didn't like meteorology. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to find out. An online class.
Yeah, honestly.
What made you want to get into meteorology?
It was a class option, and we lived like on the outskirts of Tornado Alley, so we had some experience with big storms like that. And I was like, maybe I like it, maybe I don't know. Yeah. And at the time I'm like, wow, we had like one chapter on the different kinds of storms, and now it's nothing like that. And it's boring.
I don't. Yeah, I've been thinking the whole time you were speaking. I don't think I've ever taken an online class. Ever, which is interesting. Because it sounds
kind of
like
nice.
Yeah, it sounds kind of nice.
It depends on if the professor opens everything up at the beginning of the year, so that, if you wanted to work ahead, you could, or if they lock it week to week or lock it day to day. Because if they're just like, go ham, it's the best thing ever. You can work as far ahead as you want, and you can be done like 4 weeks early. But if it has the pace of more of a regular kind of class, it just feels like a regular class.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
There's one class I took my senior year of college, and the professor was like, we have an online section and we have an in-person section. And it's the same stuff, all the materials in the same group. So if you decide you don't want to come to class anymore, that is the thing you can do. And so like half the class we just straight up didn't see again because they all decided to stick to the online version.
Yeah. See, but at least you have that option. I think one of the dumbest formats of a class is the inverted format. You learn on your own time, and then you come into class to ask questions. That's like a double waste of time, right? Because you're already doing homework, right?
Yeah.
And professors will answer emails, right? Especially if the class is like completely online. So why take the extra time to go into a lecture hall if you've already learned the material? Either you learn the material in the lecture hall and also ask questions in that same time, which is a format that has worked and continues to work, or do everything online and don't force don't force attendance. I feel like inverted classes are just professors being lazy.
I mean, if the classroom portion becomes almost like a study hall where that is like basically a time block to do the homework in, I could see the appeal of that.
Yeah.
But that's about it. But I don't know. I haven't taught. I don't know how professors even feel about it. I don't know if it's more prep work up front for them or if it's the same amount. I have friends that are teachers, but I don't have very many friends who are like professor level.
Yeah, no,
because like my dad taught like a semester of physics in the evening, just for the heck of it, because he didn't have enough to do. But yeah, it's and I guess Rosa on its own was like a weird example of a university, because I understand that a lot of colleges don't function that way, and so it skews my perception of what professors do.
Yeah,
because I know that at some schools the class has a professor, but it's really a TA who does everything.
Yeah. Underpaid lately, but yeah.
Oh, very much so. There was, I think it was the episode of Patriot Act that was talking about just how stupid college payment worked. Of like, the campus is beautiful, the library is falling apart, and the TAs are sleeping in their cars because they can't afford a regular place to stay. And so it's really dumb.
Yeah. Sounds dumb.
Oh, yeah. I think anymore, I'm just really confused with teachers, why they just can't be paid enough.
That's a great question. I don't know.
Because we have so many people who perform jobs and they're like, I can't afford to live.
Mm-hmm.
And the response is usually just, oh, we're sorry.
Yeah, that is kind of dumb. I think maybe because it's seen as an investment with no return, because the return is very hard to see. It's easy to think about, but it's hard to quantitatively grasp. It's always a money losing endeavor by institutions that wish to teach. That's why you see private schools, Rose included, asking for money from their students once they graduate. In the case of public schools, they will invest in things that generate money.
Yes.
And teachers don't generate money, despite the fact that they have a exceptionally positive impact, by teaching. It's a money sink. Teaching people is just a black hole of cash. And so all the way up to distribution tax funds in the case of public schools. It's just very hard to. It's easy to justify, but hard to numerically justify, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is a shame. But because the impact of good teaching takes so long to propagate through society, it's a very slow burn. It takes a very long time to see those effects and make those effects worthwhile. Yeah. And because eventually, on the order of 30, 40 years, the effects are very readily apparent. Very easy. And just overall, and just economy, GDP, workforce intelligence. It's very, very clear that there's an impact. But that's 40 years from now. Come on.
Yeah.
We're broke today, so.
Well, and I think it's also dumb where the measure of a school success is determined by how many of their graduates go to college, not that they graduate anymore, or that it's measured on standardized testing scores, which I don't know. I get that there should probably be some metric, but it's such a dumb metric.
The metric should probably be whatever plan you have after you graduate. Perhaps you are already employed on your way out and you don't go to college. Maybe you go to college. Maybe you want to go into the military. That would probably be marked as a success. And that would be a reasonable metric. I'm not thinking of all the edge and corner cases, but that would probably be a decent metric. As for the standardized testing, yeah, obviously that's broken because I don't think standardized tests themselves are broken or bad. I think the fact that funding is dictated off of them it provides a bad incentive for teachers to teach to the test. Not necessarily because they want to, but because that's because the money wants them to.
Yeah.
There's really nothing wrong with standardized tests. The AP exams are standardized tests, and I don't think they do anything about money, but they are good and they are helpful, and they encourage a higher level of curriculum in their relevant classes. And as for I'm just trying to think of all the standardized tests I've ever taken, and I think they were a big thing in elementary school, and then they just kind of tapered off, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
Something those, I'm not entirely certain what they're for. I guess it has to do with funding, but they're second graders taking those tests. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, and teachers are another example of they are the lowest rung on the ladder here, but they bear the brunt of all of the issues.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who regularly interact with the students and with the parents, and they have to deal with admin and school boards and stuff. And it's teachers they're kind of just like middle managers where there's no winning.
Is there winning with any middle management?
No, I can't imagine. So
that's why it's called middle management.
Yeah.
No, it's a shame they aren't paid what they deserve. But you can see why they aren't in this, how the system is currently built. And it's a shame. It's very, I think that, because no one ever goes I'm going to go into teaching for the money. No one ever does that. Not even professors at a collegiate level. They just don't. Right? You go into teaching because you either A, like interacting with kids the good way, B, or you just kind of enjoy imparting knowledge. And or see the very wholesome holistic view of I'm nurturing the next generation, which is when you go into a lower education. But I think right, no one ever goes into it for the money, so the money obviously bothers them, but the problem is I don't know that it bothers everyone enough. Yeah. Because people are all in agreement. Everyone said at once, oh, let's pay the teachers more. But no one could figure out how or numerically why. Yes. Right. So, because there's only a finite amount of money, which is really the problem. Why don't we just print more money?
No, I think the attitude that people have of I'm going to go in this for the money, at least comparatively speaking, when it comes to schooling, is nursing. Because nursing, I think, in recent years has become the stereotypical job of what the mean girl chooses to do. I know I've seen a whole lot of memes about the girls who always bully people in high school become nurses.
Or teachers. I've seen a lot of them become teachers. I'm from the Midwest. Yeah. I have Instagram friends. I know. It's fall. Oh, yeah. Of course they're going to post pictures. That's it's their bread and butter. I'm aware. I smell blood in the water. Go on.
Yeah. Well, because medical fields we typically do see as being the ones that have more money. But the older I get, the more I wonder if it's insurance. Because I understand doctors get paid more. I understand nurses get paid probably marginally more. But I don't know, with all that they have to pay for school and stuff, I think that's what bugs me too, is that the barrier of entry to jobs is so much higher. And I get that to some degree, you want a doctor who knows what they're doing and can do it in their sleep because they haven't slept in 3 days.
Yeah. And I think that's going to become a very large problem in society. You know, a lot of we were fed this growing up, obviously, because we do what we do now. You know, science, STEM, everyone, just everyone on the STEM train, because it's going to be the future of America, which is completely incorrect. It's so wrong. The future of America is in hospitality and healthcare. There are going to be so many old people, Lauren. We're going to become old people. But when we do it, there will be so many more old people. Who's going to take care of us? Who's going to change our diapers? I don't know. That's the problem. We're training computers to program themselves now. That's fine. They'll take care of themselves. We can't take care of ourselves. So no. That's the net. And one of the presidential candidates got this right. I want to say it was Yang.
Yes.
I think he was like, yeah, STEM's important, but we should also really be focusing on like healthcare workers. Like we should make a lot of those now.
Yeah. Because his whole thing was automation, because he's like, everything's becoming automated. There are jobs that are going to be going away. We need to be ahead of that, because like truck drivers are losing their jobs as cars become self-driving. Mm-hmm. And if you can continue to ship things without having to worry about, you know, bathroom breaks, needing to sleep, needing to eat, that's saving time and money. So why would we hire a person to do this?
Oh, exactly, yeah.
And there were tons of jobs lost when automation went into factories. And so there were lots of jobs that people just straight up didn't have to do anymore. Mm-hmm. And his whole thing was, we have all this automation that's making someone at the top a lot of money, but no one down below gets any of that at all. And so part of his thing too was like data mining. And if you sell your data, you should get some of that money.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I liked him a lot because he was about anticipating problems and getting ahead of them before they were problems.
Yeah. And he also wasn't in his 70s, which I thought was a cool feature. But
I know, yeah.
That's a very good point. There's becoming a very, very large bubble of unskilled workers who have been doing this one thing most of their lives, and now that's been automated, what else are they going to do? That's a problem no one seems to want. Well, people want to solve it, but they're not sure how. So the candidates who always say, we're not going to solve the problem because we're going to avoid the problem by keeping, like, you know, the coal mines open. Like that's just kicking the can down the road.
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. That's just that's unfortunate, because there will come a day where we no longer burn coal. So there will come a day where we no longer need to pull it out of the ground. Then what? Then what do these people do? Work in solar panel factories? Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know.
That's a thing that I know that they're experiencing in the UK, because I follow lots of because UK's on second lockdown. Mm. And that means a lot of the theaters, art galleries, stuff like that are closed. And so there are entire industries where people can't work. And so they started putting out posters of like, Fatima's a dancer, but she could be the next, you know, coder programmer. And they're basically like, it sucks you can't be a theater performer. Why don't you learn a different skill? And it's like, but we went to school to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's this false assumption that if you train for the job, you'll have it. And I think that was the big lie that was sold for college to like the generation before us, where they're like, oh, if you just go to college, you'll have a job. Mm-hmm. And they didn't specify what to major in, how to plan for that. And so they were told, if you go to college, you will have a life like your parents. And then they didn't.
Yeah.
And this is like another effect of that. It was like, well, if you train for this different job, it'll be there. And it's like, there are only so many positions.
Yes.
And a lot of companies are on a hiring freeze because they don't know how long their money's going to last.
Mm-hmm.
So, Boris, I don't know what you're doing, but you're clearly listening to this. What is the plan, buddy?
What's the plan, Boris? What's the plan? I think it was Daniel Tosh who had a bit with the 10% unemployment implies that 90% of Americans have jobs. How do 90% of Americans have jobs? Why do we actually want 90% of these people to be in the workforce? They're quite funny. But yeah, no, it's that's a problem. That's an issue. I don't even know where we started from this, but it's big scary.
I think
a lot of bubbles happening.
Oh, so many. Yeah.
Stock market's still going up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Tesla
nothing else is.
Tesla jumped like 14% after hours because they were included in the S&P 500.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. The market is completely disconnected from reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting. I think it's another 2008, just not with houses. I don't know what it's going to be with, but it's.
Oh yeah, it can't be with houses because nobody has any.
Yeah, but like it's going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Start investing in Chinese companies is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
They can manage their bubbles because, communism. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, every time I think about impending financial disasters, and maybe it's just because I work in tech and I work in telecom, and that's something that's probably going to stay. But every time I'm like, this may as well happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting place to be in, where the ups and downs, if we even recognize ups anymore, it's like, it's about what I expect, actually.
Yeah. Probably the next. Well, now I've spent a couple seconds thinking about it. The bubble will probably have to do with the collapse of the small business.
Mm-hmm.
Because small businesses don't trade on the NASDAQ.
Right.
So you don't really see that effect. But we will. 2,000 people dead. Who cares? Millions of people unable to live because their jobs have been erased. They don't exist because the business doesn't exist because, they were no longer getting foot traffic. That's bad. That's really bad. And that's, I'm not sure how that's going to manifest yet. There's no cash flow in an economy. An economy is cash flow.
Yes. Yeah, and that I think was the thing that a lot of people were beginning to be afraid of, where we were having to only use card for things because it was ostensibly more hygienic than exchanging paper money. Because I know a lot of places were we're only doing card. There's a coin shortage unless you have exact change. I think the collapse of the small business is probably what we're looking at next.
Yep. It'll be interesting. It's mainly restaurants that have been closing around here. Small restaurants and bars that have been closing around here. China Cafe's still holding on though. Love to see it.
I think that was just the dumb part of it. It was, everyone has to stay home. You don't have a job anymore, but the economy has to keep going.
Yeah.
And that is where it's, I think it's like with segways. When segways fall forward, they keep going because of the gravity or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So even if it crashes on your face, it's going to just keep dragging your bare skin against the road. And I think that's what this has been, is everything fell flat on its face, but it had to keep going.
Yep. Oh my god. Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Bitcoin's on the rise too. Look at that. I don't know if that's
Bitcoin.
I don't know if that's a good sign or not.
I never know with cryptocurrency. I never know.
How does it work? How does it work? I don't understand. I know all the the math and how it works computationally. How does Bitcoin get its value? I don't understand.
You just decide it has value. Same reason paper currency works, is we all believe that it has value.
But it just can't come from a vacuum. I don't
Sure
understand.
it can. Sure it can. Where does self-worth come from? Comes from a vacuum.
How am I supposed to know that? But it has okay, so how does regular money get its value? Because we all agree it does. And if you give someone $1, they'll give you a donut. Okay, sure. And because now they have that dollar, they can give someone else $1 and they can get a donut. And that dollar continues and it shifts donuts to the left. I guess Bitcoin works the same way. But it kind of makes concrete to me that it's all fake. But Bitcoin, you just made it up. If I make up a cryptocurrency, what determines its value? Why is Bitcoin worth 16K per Bitcoin right now? And why would, say, Tucker coin not have minimal value? Minimal value. Fractions of cents per Tuck coin. Why? Even, but it would have value if I just went and made a cryptocurrency and people started mining it.
Yes.
I guess they're trading electricity for the ability to own Tuck coins.
Yes.
But how does that translate?
It
feels like there's something missing in my head to understand fiat currencies in general, but cryptocurrencies especially.
I think with cryptocurrency, the way they get value is through insider trading, which is a thing I've been meaning to get on. So when you start Tucker Coin, let me know, and we'll use insider trading to make it valuable. Because
that doesn't even make sense.
Maybe it is just a scam. Maybe it is just a scam where we convince other people that Tucker Coin has value, and other people are like, oh, we got to get in on that. So they start buying it, which jacks up the value because there's a limited quantity.
I don't get it.
Does inflation hurt cryptocurrency? Can you print more like Bitcoin and then the value goes down? Is it just server space? Is it electricity?
So as Bitcoin matures, there is a ceiling on Bitcoin.
The BitConnect lecture I went to didn't help me.
Well, of course it didn't. Helps nobody. But yeah, so Bitcoin, the difficulty in finding the next Bitcoin increases as more Bitcoins are found. And there is a last Bitcoin. Because there's only so many. Okay, Bitcoin works. So you have a Bitcoin, all right? This is a blockchain. Okay? So the act of mining, I don't fully understand this. So take this with like a Utah full of salt. The act of mining is verifying transactions. So you have this blockchain, which is just this long chain of transaction blocks, and basically you do the work so that you verify that this hash, you hash the block, and it somehow cryptographically equals the next block. And the effort in that is you have to find a hash that what's the word I'm looking for? That meets a criteria. For example, I don't know if this is exactly how Bitcoin works, but like say a hash that has a certain number of leading zeros in it. And that's called the proof of work algorithm. So you you verify transactions by making sure that all the blocks in the blockchain can be derived from the block that came before it. Given a nonce that yields a hash with a certain number of zeros at the beginning, and at some point at the end of the blockchain, there will be a block whose hash plus nonce equals all zeros, and that's it. You're done. That's the last Bitcoin, I think. And then there are like cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin is incredibly hard to mine now. You and I will never mine Bitcoin. It's too hard. So there are other cryptocurrencies that are designed, their proof of work algorithms are designed to be resistant to specific hardware. So Bitcoin miners are usually chips specifically designed to mine Bitcoins. So they're super fast, like in terahashes per second. But some of them, some of these cryptocurrencies are like, no, we want normal people to be able to do the proof of work. Why wouldn't we? So they're like ASIC resistant, I guess. So you run them on a GPU, and that's pretty much as fast as you can get. And so you're only limited by the GPU market. Maybe you remember back when Bitcoin had a massive influence on the GPU market, suddenly people were like either buying a whole bunch of GPUs to mine Bitcoin or returning a whole bunch of GPUs or flooding the used market. So it was actually touching the regular economy too. I'm 100% talking out my ass here. I don't know if what I'm saying is accurate.
I trusted you.
I'm just regurgitating things that I half understand from things that I've read. I own 0.003 Bitcoin. That's all I know.
Okay. Sure.
I own it. It has gone up. I don't own a lot of it, so I didn't feel a lot of it. But you know, it exists somehow, and it has value to someone. And it's computer effort that gives it value, maybe. And you cannot fake a Bitcoin transaction, and it's decentralized because everybody checks. The end.
Okay, sure. That works.
Hopefully.
I mean, yes, as long as the bottom doesn't fall out, I guess.
I don't know how it could.
I think as a currency that still works because if there's a finite number of it, then there's still like a supply and demand principle at work.
God, economies are complicated.
They are. I'm inclined to believe that they're fake.
Well, they are. That's what I've been talking about.
It's all a grand delusion. Why do we pretend any of it exists?
Let's go back to the gold standard, huh?
Yeah, no, that was the thing that we used to be on until 1973 when Nixon was like, maybe not.
What if we just pretended money was valuable instead of making it shiny?
Yeah. Like Fort Knox. Who's to say that there's anything in Fort Knox?
I haven't seen it.
What if there's just a rare Pokemon card in it? We bust it open, we go in to look. Nope. It's just a rare Pokemon card.
Yeah, it could be worth what all Fort Knox claims to have. Could be.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I know. And that's probably not all of it. There's probably more. There's probably a lot of gold somewhere.
But it's on the moon.
On the moon? Why don't we go with the moon? Let's go to the moon and get the gold there and bring it back.
There we go.
Easy. I'm surprised we're not going to the moon right now. There are some people on their way to the International Space Station right now. Did you see the launch? That was pretty cool.
I didn't. Well, I forgot that they were launching, but they were doing that.
Well, they're still alive, so it went well.
There we go. Yeah.
So that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, that's the thing that I can't. Like, we've had, natural disasters or just horrible things that have happened to large groups of people. But I can't imagine, like, the Challenger explosion, because part of what made that terrible was there was a teacher going up in the rocket, and so like elementary schools across the country were sat down in front of these TVs broadcasting the Challenger takeoff because a teacher was on it. And that's like, we have teachers.
Yeah.
And then it explodes. How are you as a teacher supposed to go into a room of 7-year-olds and be like, hey, so those people are dead? Does anyone need to talk about that?
They don't get paid enough for that.
Oh, they don't. We came full circle. I'm impressed.
Yeah, no, that was pretty bad. Hasn't happened again, has it? We haven't like lost any other astronauts, have we?
Since 1986, I don't know. Astronaut deaths since.
I think we've learned to test our spaceship parts a little more thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was just a dumb mistake. How that O-ring failed. That was just dumb.
We've had like recovery, like training accidents we've had.
Okay.
So I'm just looking at list of spaceflight related accidents, and in 2014 Michael Alsbury was killed and Peter Seibold was seriously injured when Spaceship Two VSS Enterprise disintegrated during a powered atmospheric test flight over California due to premature deployment of the feathering system.
Well, I mean, that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the last. Oh, and then there have been a handful of more controlled fatalities, usually in the construction of spacecraft or in the cleaning process or things like that. So it's been a while since we've had like astronaut fatality.
I guess by the numbers, that's a pretty dangerous job then. Of the people who have been to space.
Yeah. Oh, the Columbia. That happened after Challenger.
Okay.
Because the Columbia, that disintegrated on re-entry.
Yeah. That's good. That's brutal.
It is. It is.
Well, hopefully it doesn't happen again. I don't know. In Musk we trust. They gotta just.
I mean, some people could choose to do that, I guess.
I don't know. I'll buy a Tesla. Sure. Whatever.
No.
I don't know.
I have this like, I mean, yeah, but I am simultaneously like, I'm petty enough of a person that I just get irrationally smug when I see Teslas driving around.
Oh, sure, of course. You get to be smug until you until you own one. And then
Which is why I never can.
Oh. Well, then you gotta buy one of their competitors' electric cars. Buy a Chinese electric car. Real middle finger.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even think you can get Chinese electric cars here. I don't think they ship them.
I don't know.
Ford's about to make one, I think. Ford's about to make an electric car. Like a good one, not like a Volt. That was Chevy. Didn't Ford make one? Didn't Ford try?
I think so.
Everyone tried.
Yeah.
They tried these weird hybrid solutions. Oh.
Yeah, I can't remember which one. I want to say that like one of the later Fiestas might have been, but
well,
it's hard to say.
I don't know. Either way, I'd rather go full electric than hybrid. Hybrids are money holes.
Well, yeah, everything is a money hole.
Well, okay, yes, but I feel like
existence is a money hole.
I didn't ask to be born.
None of us could have.
And now I have to pay an electric bill? Oh, God. All right.
I pay for my water. That thing that falls out of the sky. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, is that it's illegal to collect rainwater. It's the dumbest thing.
Who's going to stop you?
I don't. The government.
That's a weird thing to be illegal.
Yeah, I want to say it's because they're like, ooh, it might be acid rain.
Ooh, it might be acid rain. Yeah, okay. Ooh, it might be. That's a fair concern, though. I mean, acid rain.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, quicksand, I thought would be a much bigger problem than it has turned into. Although I'm sure there's still time for acid rain to become a problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. The oceans are acidifying, so why can't the rain?
Wow.
Yeah. It's something to think about.
Yeah, no, but as existence is expensive, is there anything to offset that expense? Has someone paid to keep our lights on this week?
Ooh, woo, they sure have. So, so you're probably wondering who sponsored today's episode of Steaming Pile. Well, I can answer that. This episode of Steaming Pile is brought to you by Squarespace. No, not the online storefront platform. Rather, a community center for those who just can't jive with it, man. At each Squarespace facility, you'll find all the taxes, light beer, and Dillard's catalogs you've ever wanted. Sign up for group activities, such as chatting with the women while your friends watch the big game out in the den. Or perhaps take some time and build out some airplane figurines. One's a Christmas present, 10's a hobby, but 100, you belong at a Squarespace. You're not alone. 1 out of 5 people exhibit symptoms of square. For the most severe cases, you can get help at your local Squarespace. Classes on how to appreciate IPA beer, learn to love early Mumford & Sons, but detest their latest albums as a departure from their classic sound to appeal to mainstream tendencies. You can pay your taxes ironically, and become the hipster douchebag you've always wanted to be. You've got the look and can talk the talk. Squarespace Rehabilitation can make you walk the walk. It's okay to be a square if you've got facial hair. So come on down to your local Squarespace where you can come as you are and leave acting no different, but with a special brand that allows you to fit in society because, after all, nature just loves squares. That's Squarespace.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think I remember seeing a commercial for them. It's like the classic kind of commercial where they play like 80s rock underneath it to appeal to the demographic. Because like using Huey Lewis in the news is hip to be square was just like a no-brainer.
Of course. Yeah. No, it's I imagine it's... I mean, I've never been to a Squarespace. Don't get me wrong, but if I had been to a Squarespace, I imagine they would have that song pretty often in the playlist on like the loudspeaker, you know. Hip to be square. It's you know, but I've never been to a Squarespace. Are you kidding me?
No. I mean, now that we've been sponsored by them, I might have to go.
I mean, they didn't offer a discount code, but you know, I know a guy. Not like at the Squarespace. We're friends outside of Squarespace, but like it's not that it rubs off. Never mind.
No.
It's just don't read into it. Just don't read into it. They sponsored it. That's the end of broadcast. That's it. That's all.
But you know what else is a Squarespace? The bottom of the pile.
And here we are.
We did it.
We did it, America.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Steaming Pile with Lauren and Tucker. I have been Lauren.
And I've been Tucker.
We will see you next time.